we have any, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's recording.
I think maybe the best thing to do would just be assume that we have a lot of viewers.
Yeah, that's what we should do. Is
We should just
pretend to ourselves that there's all these millions of people
listening.
Or the opposite, because you know, when you're
alone,
when you're you know, like when you're just like when you're on stage in front of thousands of people, you know, there's that thing of where you imagine everyone in their underwear or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's a good thing, is to just...
Sure. See, that would make me more nervous, actually, for some reason.
Yeah, I guess if I was talking... Well, or... Yeah, I've never done that.
Yeah, I'm afraid I haven't either.
But I think that, like, one of the things I find problematic about actors and acting is when you assume a different personality. You don't even consciously know it, but you're on the air or you're on stage, and then all of a sudden you stop being who you are. You know, you become this other kind of person.
Yeah,
this person who's super self-conscious. It's a little bit like being on a date with someone.
Sure.
Like you hear yourself as you're talking. You don't even really.
Yeah. You notice as it's coming out. But see, I kind of, maybe that's a flaw. I feel like I'm that way at least maybe 60% of the time anyway.
Because you're you're a wordsmith.
Oh, sure, something like that. Yeah.
Kind of a wordsmith.
That's good. I like that.
It sounds cheesy.
I am kind of a wordsmith.
It sounds a little bit like
yeah, that's good.
Like the Lincoln. What is it? The Lincoln Mint. The Franklin Mint. It sounds kind of like something like that. Kind of smith, you know.
Yeah, I'm a smith. I'm a craftsman. I'm a worker. I'm a sort of craftsman.
But a wordsmith sounds so antique.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds faux antique or something.
It sounds nice. You know, I've heard word tinkerer also. Seriously, I think
the use of the word tinkerer or the word smith.
Yes.
Just don't apply to our times.
No.
Is there any smith? I mean, is there a smith like a car?
A locksmith, you would say.
There's a locksmith, but locks are antique.
That's true. I'm surprised they haven't abbreviated that.
Yeah, you don't go to like a car smith.
No, that's true.
Or like a tire smith or a computer smith.
No.
There should be. I don't know why they don't.
Yeah. I think that probably everything just has a tendency to be shortened, you know. Just want to short it. It's too long of a...
well, it would be like an auto repair shop.
Yeah.
As opposed to an auto smith.
Yeah, and then someone would just say the car guy anyway.
The car guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, or they might call him by his name, you know, Ken or whatever his name would be.
Well, yeah, but that's probably why people all have the last name Smith.
That's true. That's true.
Jim Smith.
Smith. Yeah. I had a suggestion that we should do.
Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking, what if we told ghost stories right now? It's not really the season for ghost stories, but I was thinking...
Not the time of day either.
It's not
sunny, beautiful day. But the best horrors are like the ones that happen in the daytime.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this, that if I had an occurrence that would be like a ghost story where something happened that was really scary, and I couldn't really think of any, but I thought of a lot of times where like something was moved or different, and we all knew that no one could have done it, but it was different. And I was just thinking that there's like, if there would be, I'm not interested whether or not there really are ghosts, but did someone do that without remembering it? Like, for example, there was a refrigerator with lots of those magnets where you make words on it, and we left. And we went on a vacation, and we came back, my roommate and I, and there were things spelled on there. Now, obviously, someone could have been in the house.
Yeah, maybe someone was tinkering with you.
Right. Or it's just a really boring ghost.
Right. Well, yeah, maybe. Well, it could be both. It could be both.
A ghost could be boring, essentially.
Did you hear? I heard about this guy who died recently. And like a few months later, his friends started getting emails from him.
Ghost emails.
And they were like really mundane emails, like, dude, clean up the freaking attic.
Sure.
You know, like, right. You know, it's like, finish that attic you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And then the guy was just like, It blew his mind.
Yeah.
And so he went up and finished his attic, you know, and and lots of them, things
Sure.
like that, like get back together with I don't know, some with your lady.
Get back. Well, there's the idea of someone that just can't stay in the netherworld or the afterlife because something was unrequited or there was some justice needed to be done, like as in most of the traditional ghosts. But I was thinking maybe a ghost is just annoyed by something so intensely that their annoyance stayed there, and it could just be like, you never clean out the attic.
Yeah, well, I mean, what is a ghost?
That's why they're here to stay.
Why are ghosts scary? That's the part I don't understand, because
they could be mundane, they could be boring.
Okay,
yeah.
if my dad died, is he gonna come back and haunt me?
Right.
Or I mean,
and would
or
that
is he
be
gonna
scary?
come back and haunt other people?
Yeah.
I mean, why would he do that?
In a lot of ghost stories, there's always the one person who isn't afraid of the ghosts, and they're sort of special because they're fascinated by the ghosts and they're not scared of them. They want to understand the ghost. And then I guess you get into that idea of, like, they say, if you understand something, you're not afraid of it. Like a spider, if you know a lot about spiders or let them slowly crawl on you, you're not afraid of them anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But I like the idea that perhaps maybe if any of our listeners out there are horror writers or genre writers.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the idea of they could take up this idea of a sort of just a regular ghost. Like, he's not really doing anything too exceptional. There's not really an element of terror. He's just kind of there to remind you to do something.
Right.
Well,
okay, so taking that further, the story a little bit further.
Yeah.
I was curious because I'm always curious about these kinds of stories, and it was like a big, it was on Yahoo News or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
And so then I went and followed the thread, and I watched the video about it, and the people seemed genuinely like they believed it, like there was a ghost. But then the last person was the mom, the guy's mom.
Yeah.
And there was something a little fishy about her.
Yeah.
Almost like she kind of realized she took her thing a little too, like she went a little too far or something.
Right.
And it all made sense to me all of a sudden that, like, his mom, because she even said, like, well, I don't know if it's true or not, but I think it makes people feel good that they're getting emails from him. That they're
getting those emails,
like, and then all his friends were kind of the same way. They were like, well, I'm not sure if it's true or not. I don't really want to know, but it makes me feel good that he's, like, communicating with me.
Communicating, yeah.
And I realized it was probably his mom.
Sure.
She's the one who, like, really feels, the most lost probably.
Yeah.
And then she felt sort of like it was her way of keeping him alive in some ways, was to have him email his friends as like a, and she, of course, she probably had access to his password and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
she knew all about, like, the dude needed to clean up his attic and stuff.
I wonder how accurately she sounded like him in the emails. Like,
yeah, that was the funny part.
Because you're a wife, you know those little pet peeves.
Or you're the mom.
Or the mom. Yeah, you know those little pet peeves. You'd know how to send an email that would be a regular sounding email.
Right. Yeah, because she didn't use her style of talk. It was like the way a guy talks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where was this? Do you remember?
It was in some little town somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Sure. Oh, Pennsylvania, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
There's a lot of
ghosty.
It's very, the East Coast has lots of ghosts.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's almost like could be like a line in a song,
The East Coast has a lot of ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, do you have one? Do you have a ghost story?
Yeah, I actually do. I think ghosts are associated with sounds. People hear sounds, and therefore you imagine what that would be. And I distinctly remember as a young boy when I was camping with my family at one of those campgrounds where it's not really camping. It's that people pull up in the RVs and they drink beer and they sit and they talk about their mortgage payments and stuff like that. But they were sitting there, and I was in the campground, and I was walking around, and I distinctly heard someone asking me to come over in a certain direction when I was walking around alone, and I walked in that direction. I walked behind what would have been a large pile of like wood, firewood that you could buy at the campground because they charged you. And I walked behind it, and there was nothing there at all. There was absolutely nothing there. And but I did hear someone saying my name, like, Zach.
Wait, was
Zachariah.
sorry, I'm laughing, but was there someone there with you that knew you, or you were all by
No, I was with. Well, my family knew me. They were a bit busy, consorting with the other middle class people, nice, friendly people, and they were there, and they were, grilling out and drinking beer and sitting around, and I just was walking, and then I heard this, Zach, come over here, and I knew it sounded like it was from a specific spot, but there was actually no one there, and oddly enough, it didn't frighten me. Until I thought about it later. Like, thinking about it right now, it's kind of frightening. But at the time, it wasn't really very frightening at all.
It just felt, if it wasn't, it didn't feel like you just kind of were like, it was just, you were just reacting to the reality of it.
Yeah. Because I figured I was rationalizing it. There must have been an explanation. I thought perhaps my younger sister was following me and doing that.
Right.
There wasn't anyone else that I remember knowing. So... yeah, that was very scary to me. And then, of course, there was the fridge magnet incident where things were spelled out in the fridge. And again, they were very mundane things. They said, like, hello. Another one said, fart. I believe the word fart. Can I say that on the air? Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. It was just kind of stupid. So I thought maybe some kids got in here, but I don't know. We had double locks and there were no windows open. But it would be... so that couldn't be scary. It was just unexplainable.
Right.
But I wonder why we didn't suppose it was some sort of supernatural, irrational, ghost type occurrence. Because it was so stupid. It was so boring and mundane and stupid.
Nobody might have come over. I guess I'm a skeptic,
Sure.
So
Me too.
Like, to me, it's sort of, yeah.
We could explain any of it psychologically, if we wanted to. But,
Well, that gets to a part of it, I think. And it reminds me of all of these, what is it, supernatural...
Yeah.
Belief in supernatural things.
Scary stuff.
But not always scary, like, going to a psychic or having psychic powers.
You're saying, like, in general, any sort of so-called irrational sort of belief system is just pretty much the same as believing in a ghost, essentially.
Yeah, like along sort of things that are not of this world,
right,
that happen,
right,
occurrences in this world that are not of this world.
Sure.
Like, for example, I remember I once had this was in a relationship with someone, and she was really affected by psychics. She went to psychics a lot, and she would read horoscopes and all that stuff. And I have other friends who are really, that really gravitate towards that kind of, what's your sign? What,
right.
what, where were you born in this star system or whatever?
Yeah.
And I used to resist it, but I realized maybe that's just a kind of, there's something wrong with that. It's a little bit like resisting when you watch WWF, wrestling. Like, if you resist it, then you're just not having a good time. You're kind of having a bad experience. But if you actually embrace it, then all of a sudden you start to have a good time. Kind of. Right. It's like it's just you don't need to. Whoa!
Hello, caller. Excellent.
Hello.
Hello, caller.
Oh wait, 1 second. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, caller.
Hello, caller. You're on Hello, caller.
What?
We said hello, caller. You're on Hello, caller, the radio show.
Oh yeah, it sounds like I'm on something here.
Do you have a ghost story to share with us?
Am I what, huh?
A ghost story. We were just discussing ghosts.
Your whole end of it is all broken up. I can barely hear what
Do you have
you're
a
saying.
ghost story?
A ghost story?
Yeah.
No, but I kind of wish I did, I guess.
Anyone you know? Any that you've heard? Have you heard about any ghosts?
Ghost fell in the mud. I don't know.
I didn't catch that, Zob. Did you catch that?
A ghost fell in the mud.
A ghost, a single ghost.
Ghost fell in the mud. That's pretty good. I like that.
That's not a bad story. I like that there's no witness needed for that ghost story.
So Andy, are you coming by?
Well, I was debating it. Yeah.
I'm at the store.
Know.
What's that?
Now all the River West is going to know, aren't they?
Yep. It's no longer a secret.
A lot more than River West, sir. It's cool.
Repeat.
Uh-oh. Did he hang up? Oh, no, you're still there.
Yep.
Well, stop on by if you'd like.
All right, now I know that you're there.
I'll be here till about 6.
All right.
Okay.
So,
All right. See ya.
sounds good. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was our first
caller. That's kind of a special moment, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to make too big of a deal out of it, but that was kind of magic for me when that rang right there.
I'll keep it over here so it doesn't ring as loud.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that and like how. Oh yeah. So then I was saying that I'm super skeptical. I've always been super skeptical of all supernatural things, even dating back to like when I was in first or second grade. I was skeptical of that stuff.
Right.
And it ruined the fun for me. So I wonder if that like. You need to reserve. It's a little bit like with film. What is it? With movies, you suspension of disbelief.
Right.
I have trouble with that.
Well, I'm interested in where it comes from, and by interested, I mean not that interested, but interested enough to think about it. And that's that maybe it's the idea that one always has that there always has to be something else there.
Right.
Like for example, and that might just be part of the way psychology works. Some people have less of that instinct, some people have more. But it's like, a lot of people I know that are like obviously not religious, inclined towards any religion or any belief system at all. They tend to really be interested in like sort of conspiracy theories, like, or they dig into history and politics, and they get absorbed with that, or
I for one I'm not really, I guess I have fallen for a couple sort of conspiracy theory things,
right? But it's the idea that there's got to be something else to this. There's got to be something else. There must be something else. This can't just be what I'm seeing specific, at face value.
I see what you mean. Like with that there's more to the picture than meets the eye.
And that's just an intrinsic thing,
Everybody has that, but then some people fill it with religion, some people fill it with some belief in superstitious things, and then some people fill it with politics, like the CIA or something.
Exactly.
So do you think there's anyone out there who actually is like, who is the most rational thinker in our personality type?
Most rational. Shoot, that is pretty tough. Because again, I'm only going to defer to probably famous people, writers or thinkers.
Right,
that's the first place I defer because.
Well, I would think, because I'm thinking in kind of broad generalizations. Obviously,
yes.
If we had to start pinpointing friends or something, that doesn't really help.
No, that doesn't help our idea. Someone who is extremely rational, or someone whose ideas are extremely rational, like they don't seem to succumb to any. They take everything at face value.
Yeah, perceptions. Maybe reporters, news reporters.
Maybe. I mean, they're supposed to.
That's like their job. So like the tip-top Olympic best reporter, like
who would be the best?
Is like who out there is the least susceptible to delusion, in one way or another.
Least susceptible. Well, I don't think it's George Stephanopoulos. Maybe a couple years ago, he was really cute in the War Room, and he seemed really serious, and he seemed like sort of level-minded as a sort of political personality.
He seemed like a Michael J. Fox.
He was a Michael J. Fox of politics.
Incarnate. Michael J. Fox incarnate or something. Yeah. And with a democratic twist.
He was. He was young. He was spunky. You know, he had some clever little quips to say here and
He's
there.
definitely shrewd.
He was shrewd. He played nicely off of what's his name, Skeletor.
Cargyle or
Carville. I'm sorry.
Carville,
How
yeah.
could I forget that?
Yeah.
Carville. Yeah, they played nicely off of each other. There was sort of a Dukes
Did
of
you
Hazzard
recently
thing going
watch
on.
that?
No, I just remember that movie.
Oh, okay,
I
cool.
remember.
Because it did come up in, you know how Fresh Air, they talk about recent DVD releases.
Oh,
and it just got
crap.
re-released. So I was
Yeah.
wondering if that triggered it.
No, I haven't ever purchased it, or I've watched it years ago, but I remember it very well because
Yeah.
I tend to I tend to like that, even if it's an artificial portrait for some reason. I like behind the scenes.
I do too.
I
do
even
too.
if it seems completely put on, I
Yeah.
don't mind.
I always have wished I could be a fly on the wall of the
Yeah.
White House.
Oh yeah,
Like literally be a fly
yeah.
that could fly around the White House and just hang out in different areas and try not to get sprayed by bug spray.
Literally a fly.
And yeah, like that would be so amazing. The things you would see.
I wonder where you'd be literally a fly drawn to in the White House, like
I would probably
possibly
wanna,
the bathroom.
Well, yeah, maybe when you're hungry.
But
like
if you're literally a
yeah,
fly,
if
you'd
you're
be
literally,
drawn.
you wouldn't give a shit about world politics anymore.
Right. you'd have other
You'd have a whole other.
you'd have other preoccupation.
Yeah, you'd be concerned about. Yeah,
You'd be really into chess, and that'd be about it. You wouldn't get
Yeah.
out much. You'd just kind of stay near the bathroom for your short life. But no, I mean, in reality, if one could be behind the scenes anywhere, would it be the White House for you if you had to narrow that to a list? And I love lists.
The White House is a dull. A really dull.
Well, I don't know, you could
existence,
see- you
but
could-
but obviously it's more of just. I guess what I meant when I said fly is be have a little fly that's like a little camera or something. that
Sure,
could-
sure.
Or I guess be present.
An
be a-
omniscient
yeah,
presence.
some kind of
sort
like be able to be invisible and walk in
Yes.
to those spaces and then sit around and just
Yes.
observe. Sometimes I think about like all these people are human, so they do all the human things that
Sure.
human beings do, but then they live these superhuman existences,
Right. Yeah.
and I'm interested in that, how that works.
Yeah, right. I mean, they never think about things like, I would imagine, like, it'd be nice if you did the laundry once in a while. All the little things that
Right.
accumulate in one's life, the quotidian aspects of life,
Yeah.
that wouldn't accumulate. You wouldn't think about it. Would you
Right.
just be super relaxed? Maybe you would be.
I think that might be part of the key to success in that field.
Right.
Like George Bush seemed like he was really comfortable.
Just so relaxed.
Probably because his dad was doing it forever.
And he
you
just
know,
had
so
a
he just
butt
observed
massage
his
2 hours
dad.
before he gave the speech. If he wanted a butt massage, you get a butt massage.
Oh,
or
yeah, he could
I
have-
need some carrot juice
Yeah.
with just a sprig of...
And it's not a great
Ginger.
existence either, though.
No.
I mean, there's a huge trade-off.
Right.
You lose your anonymity forever,
Sure.
forever and ever. You never can do anything. I mean, it's like you and me. You would have been followed around by Secret Service all day today.
Yeah.
That's not that great.
No, it wouldn't be
That would
great.
drive you kind of bananas after a while.
Yeah, right.
And also the fact that like wherever you went, someone potentially would want to kill you, kidnap you,
Right.
or scream at you, or praise you too much, or
Right.
you know what I mean, bend your ear, get a piece of your
Sure.
what you got to offer. It just seems like not a healthy existence. It's imbalanced. I
Right.
think.
Well, I mean, when one has to exist in a state of paranoia, and that goes back to our ghost story segment of the program, which is that you would tend to, your paranoia would tend to give you a sense that there's lots of scary things happening, and indeed, when you do read, stories by the CIA of double and triple agents, they are very much like ghost stories. They're very, very scary because your paranoia creates a cushion for you to believe, as we said, there always must be something else to this. I can't take anything at face value whatsoever.
right.
There's always something else to this forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
There's always, the prize at the bottom of the cereal isn't necessarily a prize,
Yeah, I think that would drive me. Again, it would drive me bananas.
Yeah, we'd probably go crazy. Sure.
It drives you crazy to be paranoid.
Yeah.
It turns out that You know how a Hemingway shot himself because out of paranoia.
Paranoia, yeah.
And it turns out that he was right.
Huh.
That he was being followed by the CIA.
He was being followed by the CIA.
Yeah, it only came out recently. So everyone was like, oh, because I used to say to myself, well, I hope I never become like Hemingway.
Wonder why they were following him. You think he
because of his involvement with Cuba.
Oh, the Cuban thing.
Which makes
of course,
perfect sense.
Of course.
It's obvious. It's like, of course.
Yeah.
Hey, Elmo. Elmo's at the door, at the window, trying to get attention.
He is succeeding in getting attention here on Hello Caller. Elmo, you should call us. Call us. Call Zav. Give us a call if you want to get on.
Yes.
Oh no, what did I just do? I realized it halfway through saying it. I just realized that Elmo is just kind of became like our Paul Schaefer, or perhaps, or I wonder what Belling is doing right now.
Yeah.
He sort of became
Does Mark Belling have a sidekick?
He does. His name is Paul, and he doesn't say. You never hear Paul. Occasionally hear him.
Just like puts carts in.
Yes,
and stuff.
Paul.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice that you never get to hear him. There's something funny about that. But I do wonder what Belling's talking about right now.
Yeah.
Probably something depressing. Probably not ghost stories.
Probably something incensing. Something that would just get the hairs up on the back of your spine.
Sure. Or I think odds are right now he's probably talking about the so-called Mitt Romney problem in some way. And oh God, I don't even want to think about it.
No, I know.
Let's go somewhere else.
So is pedantic the right word?
Yeah, pedantic, but it's still it's weird. I love being disgusted. I love it, and I can't stop. Like, I think I've been through this with you before.
Oh, no.
Around this time,
yeah,
I tend to listen to Mark Belling's
because
program.
we're getting near some elections or something, or what?
I just listen to it while I'm doing the dishes.
Oh, this time of day.
Yeah, normally.
Yeah. You know, it's funny when. It's a funny thing. I used to listen to a lot of that conservative talk.
Right.
And I think at a certain point I just stopped because I know it's there. I know it's always going to be there. I know what they're going to say. I know how they're going to spin everything. And so there's no real purpose in me listening anymore.
At all.
Yeah.
Although I do find the callers amusing.
Thank you, Elmo.
Especially when they agree. For our listeners, Elmo just set down approximately $16 and 25, 30.
And he bought some. What'd you buy? Broccoli and
45 cents.
Jello. Okay. Elmo has this interesting thing. He eats Jello.
Yeah.
From the packet.
Huh.
Dry.
Just dry.
Yeah. And at first I was just like, oh God, that is the most horrific thing
you could think of.
And then I tried it. It was really good.
It was really good. Yeah.
So I recommend, all our many listeners out there to try dry Jello straight from the packet, and then you save yourself a lot of a
lot of time.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about preparation at all. Maybe we should try to make a point of thinking of foods that you might not expect to need to be prepared, to not be prepared. There's probably a lot like that a lot of listeners don't realize.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of scary things, I have here as an item I saw today in the notable and quotable section of the... What is this here? We got the Post? Yeah, we do. Just not to be too topical, I don't want to do that, but I have a little section of the Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito and the Solicitor General Donald Verrilli. Tuesday Supreme Court hearing, and they were having a little bit of a back and forth, and it was kind of funny, kind of interesting. And I don't know. I just wanted to see if you wanted to take a look at that. It's kind of
how about you read it to all of us?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how about I'll read to you what Alito says, and you say what you think you might say if you were defending, if you had to defend healthcare. And just say whatever you want. I'll say what.
Interesting.
Okay. I'm Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. Do you think there is a market for burial services?
Yes, of course.
All right. Suppose that you and I walked downtown Washington at lunch hour and we found a couple of healthy young people and we stopped them and we said, you know what you're doing? You are financing your burial services right now because eventually you're going to die and somebody is going to have to pay for it.
Right.
And if you don't have burial insurance and you haven't saved money for it, you are going to shift the cost to somebody else, Buster. Isn't that a very artificial way of talking about what somebody is doing?
Wow. Now this is where I would be bad in this position because it's a very convoluted question.
Okay.
I have a lot of reactions to that.
And if that's true, why isn't it equally artificial to say that somebody who is doing absolutely nothing about healthcare is financing healthcare services?
See, I'm slow on the uptake with these things. I need to kind of like process what he's saying. Could you say that last thing again?
And if that's true, why isn't it equally artificial to say that somebody who is doing absolutely nothing about healthcare is financing healthcare services?
I see what you're saying. Well, I think that you have a good point. I mean, I have to, I can't disagree with the way you're framing the question.
Okay. I don't see the difference. You can get burial insurance. You can get health insurance. Most people are going to need health care. Almost everybody. Everybody is going to be buried or cremated at some point. What's the difference?
Well, the difference is that that human beings. Okay, well, wait a second. Am I supposed to be defending mandatory
You can
insurance?
say whatever you.
Okay, because
think.
I don't think I want to defend mandatory health insurance. On the other hand, maybe I'm wrong because this is a thing. My take on it, and so now I'm gonna. It's kind of not really. I'm not really answering your question, but I'm just kind of a rebuttal.
Sure.
Human beings are born into this world whether they choose to or not. Am I correct? And being born, you have health. You either have good health or bad health.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
So in a sense, it's not the same thing as, say, buying an automobile. An automobile is something that you choose to have, whether you'd like to have an automobile or not. Healthcare is something that regardless of how much money a person has, regardless of what their circumstances are, they are born with a health issue. Their life is contingent on health. Health is an inevitability. So everyone is inevitably in need of health care. Whether it's not a lifestyle choice. Okay? Life in itself is not a lifestyle choice. So that would be my argument that it brings it into a different category. Now, death is also not a lifestyle choice. Death is an inevitability. On the other hand, death is not something that really, the reason why I would say that argument is a little bit false is that death does not really, there's not much to it. I mean,
I like that. That's a good line.
You don't experience
really
death.
Isn't. No.
The minute you die, you no longer experience anything in that body, right?
Right. There's not an investment in death. Well, there is an investment.
I mean, if someone has
body.
a poor burial, a shoddy burial, it doesn't affect that individual in any way, shape, or form. It may affect their family. It may affect their loved ones and their friends and maybe even the broader society, but it doesn't affect that individual in any way. So we're really talking about two different things. You're talking about an individual and a non-individual when you talk about death. So that would be my answer to that.
You forgot to refer to me as Justice Alito.
Justice Alito.
Thank you. Wow. Well, as Justice Alito goes on here, I think that it gets a little. I don't know. I don't really like this.
What's it?
Well, he goes on and he says, I don't see the difference a lot more. And then he says, and I don't know, Virilli, who you were taking the place of, says one big difference is that in the burial industry, you don't have the cost shifting to other market participants. He starts explaining it through the prism of economics.
Right.
And Alito says, sure you do, because if you don't have money, then the state is going to pay for it. But it is funny that this isn't quite obviously, for the reasons that you stated, obviously an entirely different category than other markets. It's
It's also-
obviously
yeah.
completely different.
It's completely different. It's not. It has. You're talking about something that really does
How
get
can you
down
compare
to.
a person's body to a car? That's just
Yeah.
it's
Or how
ridic-
can you compare a person's living body
Well,
to a dead body?
unless-
Because
well-
a living body is it's an existential thing that.
Sure.
Whereas. What like when I die, it doesn't matter if you cremate me. I mean, how much money does that cost?
Yes.
I mean, you stick the body in a furnace,
yes.
and you crank it up, and then that's it. I mean, it's got to be pennies to the dollar. I mean,
Yeah.
it must be. It's about as expensive as firing a pot of clay.
yeah.
You know, I mean, it's really nothing.
Yeah.
So, we're talking maybe
what does a cremation
maybe
cost?
$50 to $100
For a
I mean, if the
cremation?
state cremates.
Yeah.
I know the state cremates homeless people and
Sure.
so on. They must cremate all kinds of
People, absolutely.
and I'm sure that they have a ward somewhere downtown where they cremate bodies,
Right.
and there's, I mean, they do it with pets all the time.
Right.
It's not an expensive thing. It's not,
No.
doesn't require a lot of care. It doesn't require much of anything. You just roll the body into this furnace and you turn it up. You can
Yeah.
roll in hundreds of bodies at once. I mean,
yeah.
it's starting to sound like the Holocaust, but reality is everyone dies,
Sure.
and so cremation is just, I mean, it's just, there's no correlation unless cremation was like something that lasted 75 years on average to do and was like had to be maintained. With some people it's a daily maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the category. It's really kind of comparing apples and oranges.
Well, I do think that probably a poor burial spot isn't really a bad investment. I'm not sure I agree with that. It's more investment for other people who know you.
Yeah, it's really,
If they really wanna go look at it.
It really does get into a different category of consumption where you're like making a lifestyle choice. At that
Right.
point. I mean, it's
And how do you rate quality? How could you say that this is a quality burial? I mean, really. I mean, I guess you could have a bad burial.
See, yeah, it presupposes this
botched
whole
burial.
kind of like pure sort of American idea of what a funeral entails. That of course you're going to spend $7,000 on a burial on average, and maybe
Yeah.
$50,000 if you're rich and $2,000 if you're poor or something. But that's just not. What does that really have to do? That is a lifestyle choice thing. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, there are countries where people float a body down the Ganges. It doesn't cost hardly anything. I mean, it's
Nothing.
just it doesn't really reflect anything, and it is about lifestyle choices
Yeah.
at that point. It's about religious choices, and so I think that argument is false. I think that it's just a false.
It's a false.
It's a red herring, a straw man
Yes.
or something. I don't. It doesn't
Yes.
really doesn't hold water.
yeah.
You had Jello.
Elmo had Jello.
Yeah.
And I had drugs.
What kind of drugs?
Jello.
Jello drugs. Yeah.
Straight from the packet.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
When did you discover that worked out for you? Eating Jello right from the packet.
Hey Elmo. Okay. We're
Uh,
doing a show, so maybe. Do you mind leaving us alone?
It's a
Or being quiet at least.
It's
All
yeah. It's a little bit of pageantry. I thought I'd introduce it, and it certainly is.
I love that.
Pageantry.
I love when the news becomes theater, or where, the theatricality of it just really bubbles up
to the surface, and that's becomes almost the point.
Yeah.
Yes, it's funny to think about this this case being brought before the Supreme Court being of incredible historic import, and then to think that afterwards people say the lawyer did a good job, he had a good performance, and I keep thinking about the performance, and I was like, he did stutter a lot. I wonder if the judges are like, oh Christ, if they're critiquing his eloquence in exposition,
Yeah.
not just the content of his argument. I
Right.
wonder how much that actually influences the justices. Now, I do know that probably Ginsburg is very easily flattered. She kind of comes off that way.
Uh-huh.
Scalia is the top. Scalia is like that uncle on your mom's side who's like angry about everything all the time, and he's just looking for an excuse to get angry. If you ask him a question, he snaps. That kind of guy. They all kind of fill these sort of little archetypal roles. But I am interested in the fact that that so much nuance could affect something so actually really important, that a lawyer's performance.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like if someone happened to have drank coffee that day, maybe they would have a different.
Right.
You know, like
we're not talking
different
about a
outcome
jury
for
trial
like
here
everyone's
either.
lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we have people who are so well seasoned in the game that
There's Ashley Coffey. She's one
walking
of our,
right by. Is her last name Coffey?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And she's a we did the first radio show together.
Oh.
It was really good.
It worked great.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a great time.
Oh. Well, I just wish someone would call in. If we have any listeners out, we want to remind you that Hello Caller line is open.
Yep. And that you're listening to Hello Caller.
And anything you'd like to let us know, we just want to remind you, let's say no curse words, no copyrighted material over the phone. Please call in. Our lines are wide open.
Oh, you know what?
now.
No one knows the number. Did we ever call?
Oh, wow.
I mean, of the millions of callers.
Little wet behind the ears here. Boy, oh boy. Well, we are in the red. What is the number, Zav?
Whoa, weird. Wait.
Did we miss
Hearing
one?
Voices. Oh, okay.
Oh.
It's 414-704-5956.
Give us a call on Hello Caller. We'd love to talk about anything that comes up. I do think that, I'm going to be relieved that these hearings are going to be over. I can think about a lot of other things now.
Yeah.
I don't have to be obsessed with them for a few days. And
Well, so where is this hearing at right now? Because I've actually been out of the loop as far as that.
it's the Supreme Court itself.
So are they haven't deliberated
That's-
yet on this, or
No, they're going to take a recess, or I believe they have already, and then the end of June is when we get the verdict. And I don't understand exactly, and I feel a little ignorant here. Why do they take so damn long?
Yeah.
That seems like a really long time. Do they stand before a storm window and gaze out and contemplate? I mean, I think most of these people already know what they're going to say before anybody opens their mouth. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong. I mean, from the sound of the arguments and from the sound of Alito in some of our quotes, it sounded like he knew which way he was going to vote, despite what everyone was saying.
Well, I wonder, maybe there's something more to it, that perhaps they deliberate on like a lot of different cases and
Yeah.
then kind of deliver the responses all in a row.
Yes.
That's just a wild guess.
Maybe.
Maybe they have to confer with other people
Sure.
so that it's like each Supreme Court justice then has a team and they all sit down and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
know. I'm not sure how.
See, and
that-
again, when we were talking about the president and important people relaxing, I can't imagine being able to relax knowing that
the weight
that
of your decisions.
even more than the president to a certain degree as
Yeah.
a Supreme Court justice,
Yeah.
will affect history,
Yeah.
will affect the way laws can be structured for
Right.
so long.
Right.
How would you relax? Probably a lot.
Probably those people are high stress.
Sure.
I bet you they do. I bet you that
Oh,
they're extremely
Christ,
extremely
Scalia.
smart people, extremely thorough,
Sure.
exacting, hardworking people. But still, no matter how stressed out you get,
Yeah.
no matter how exacting you are, you're affecting so many human lives.
Yes.
By any little, tiny little, just the way you kind of shrug your shoulder. I think you just have to put that aside
Yeah.
at a certain point and just deal with it.
I
you
will
know?
say Scalia looks like he's going to pop at any moment, like a
Yeah.
balloon that could
Yeah.
burst at any
And
second.
you see presidents,
Be
they
messy.
get gray hair, they get older
Yeah.
in matters of, very short period of time. It's very unhealthy.
Right.
But, it's funny because, like, I think about it because I run the video store,
Sure.
and now I'm kind of like starting this radio station thing.
Yeah.
And I was involved with the Occupy movement,
Yeah.
and then I've got things like I like to go to the gym, and I've got my personal
Blow off some
relationships
steam.
and friendships, and then I have people like Elmo around who are take are taxing in their own little ways, but
Sure.
it's all good.
Yes.
But I think about it. It's like I'm nothing. Especially like if I'm traveling
Right.
in an airplane
Yes.
and I'm in another city and I just think, God, I bet you most people don't even know Milwaukee exists. You know?
Right. It really.
I
could
bet
be,
you most people don't even know Wisconsin exists.
Or they don't think about it any more than say we think about like Clyde, Ohio, or something. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on there right
Yeah.
now.
And then, that's, I mean, even within the states. But
Yeah.
then even outside of the states, people really have no clue.
Yeah.
All they know is Chicago and New York.
Right.
Maybe Los Angeles. And then in Milwaukee, I don't know how many people even know that the video store exists. I don't even know
Yeah.
if people in River West know that
the video
store
store exists. Yeah.
So it's like, I am such a like teeny tiny little
Thing. Yeah.
piece of dirt a piece of dust.
Yeah.
And then I'm stressed out. Sometimes I feel like I'm gonna pop with all
then
of
you
the things I
remember
have to
that you're-
juggle and figure, and then you just figure, wow, what if you were
Ease into that
president?
insignificance.
What if you were one of these people
Yeah.
who has? It's like instead of dealing with like, oh, I need to get rid of that little smudge of Sharpie off of that thing, you're actually
Yeah.
being like, I need to get rid of that like little smudge in Afghanistan of
Right.
like terrorists or something.
Right.
Like you're doing these huge. Everything you do is like 10 times. Every tiny little thing you do is like 100 times more important than what almost anyone else is doing in the world. What's that like? I can't imagine how you do that without being incredibly stressed out. And finally, you must just get to a point where you just see it as a chess game or something, and everything. You can't possibly care about every single thing you're dealing.
Or you have to see it as perhaps a Jenga game, where you have to move the pieces out and replace them so carefully so as that not to disturb.
And
the structure.
everything is so. But then at the same time, you need that kind of poetic license or that ability to flow and feel it, and be human and not just be an automaton, like making tiny, eking little efforts. But you have to, in a certain way, you have to just take the bull by the horns and just run the thing, and so I think it must be that's part of the fly on the wall thing where I would like to know how do you get there? Because I know these people still only have so much energy. They can only really be awake. I know that Bill Clinton.
The president looks pretty good. I mean, he looks like he's got a lot of energy. I mean, he looks good.
Yeah.
He looks like
he's great.
He hits the gym at least 3 or 4 times
I think
a day.
Obama is a really admirable president in his appearance.
Yeah, he looks fantastic.
And in the way he delivers, the way he doesn't ever lose his cool.
Yeah.
He seems like a really pretty good president. But unfortunately, the things that come out that on the other end I'm not impressed by hardly at all. But that's because he's stuck in a system, and he probably should not have. I almost think he probably shouldn't have been president, and that there's something narcissistic about it. Why do you want to be president if you know from the get-go that you're going to be hogtied?
I wonder if he went through a period of tremendous disillusionment, like one would imagine he did, and one obviously knows a lot of people went through after several months into his presidency. I wonder if he went through that same sense of disillusionment. I'm sure he probably did, because I think he really believed he would have no problem with Guantanamo. I think he honestly believed that. People call that a point of naivete. Maybe it is naivete. Naivete can be a virtue, because I do believe that idealizing things isn't entirely evil and to some extent is inevitable. But you have to choose your idealisms very carefully, and one would hope that they're constructed out of a reality, not out of, say, the opposite of a reality. Like, I'm going to create an ideal out of everything I think is good because this is also terrible. So you just reinforce this binary between things. And I think that he's interesting because I do wonder if he did go through that period of disillusionment where he realized that there are so many things that he can't choose to do, and other things that he would choose to do that he wouldn't have chosen to do before, perhaps. But I don't know. I mean, in another sense, I'm not interested in it as a person at all, in another way. I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted in any person as a person. But on the other hand, if that person simply, their importance makes them almost a non-person, then I feel worried, and maybe I shouldn't consider them too much of a person. A lot of friendly faces.
Yeah,
around
Andy's
here.
taking a nap in the kids section.
Oh.
That's a good idea. I'm glad to see that. He went up in that bunk
okay.
up there. Actually,
Excellent.
Elmo stayed at the store last night. That
He
was a
did?
pretty it
Did
was
he have a
kind of
good time?
intense. Well, the thing that freaked me out is he doesn't sleep hardly.
Wow.
He always tells me he doesn't sleep, and I don't believe him.
Right.
I never know if he's with a kid you don't know what's true and
Sure.
what's not. But I came back to the store. He got in a fight
Oh.
at home.
Oh no.
And then I called his mom, and she said, yeah, it's okay. He can stay, because he asked me if he could stay here. And I said, okay, but I got to talk to your mom. So I talked to his mom. She said it's okay. And then I actually went out. I was out, like, at the bars
I
and
believe I
stuff.
saw you.
Yeah, we saw
That's
each other, right.
Mhm.
And then I came back probably bar time. So
Yeah.
and he was still up. He was here. He was, like, on the computer and stuff. And then I was like, you should go to bed. And he was like, no, I don't want to go to bed. I'm awake still. So then I was like, well, why don't you take the laptop in the bed, and then you can, like, lay down and watch
Sure.
music videos. And, like, probably about 3 in the morning or something, I was like, I called him out. I called his name just to see if he was still awake, and he was awake still. And then I finally
Wow.
went to bed, and I couldn't tell if he was awake or not. But then at like 6 in the morning, he woke up and left. So he slept at most like 2 or 3 hours,
Wow.
which seems really unhealthy for
For a kid, yeah.
a growing
Boy, yeah.
boy. Yeah, it seems.
Well, he's probably.
But he
really-
told me that he doesn't sleep a lot. And often he just sleeps like with his head on the table. But anyway, we're getting into kind of like some
Oh, sure.
personal
Domestic,
stuff. Yeah,
so that's
probably
okay though.
Boring to people.
Oh no, I mean,
Oh.
I do have to ask, how old is Elmo though?
14.
14
Yeah.
years old. Well, that's an exciting age, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
So,
I don't know. I don't
I would
remember
think
being.
so.
I,
You got any 14-year-olds out there? Give us a call. Hello, caller.
Let us know if it's an exciting age. I don't remember if it was more exciting to be 14 than, I don't know.
Yeah, I
I feel
guess
like
they
every
blur,
age, I
don't
feel
they?
like it's always frustrating to be alive.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, I don't think I've ever been like, this is awesome.
This
maybe
is
when
great.
I think the best time in my life would have been when I got out of high school,
Mm,
because then you're still a kid, but you're free.
that's
and you
true.
don't really have to accomplish anything.
No, not really. No, that's true. I remember feeling actually oddly confused at that period, but there's probably a number of reasons that I do. I was very disillusioned with college.
Oh yeah, I was too.
I think that's a common trope, because not only did I imagine I would be nonstop having interesting discussions
Yep.
and all these things, but also I went into the bathroom at the urinals at UW Milwaukee. Actually, even saying UWM sort of gives me a tinge of mild depression. But I walked in there like the first time I was there, and while I was urinating, there was a television screen positioned in front of me that
Oh
played
God.
McDonald's commercial, and I remember that there was Ronald McDonald was playing a plastic guitar, and there were really hot graphics on it, and there were hot graphics for cool skateboarder shoes,
Yeah.
and those sorts of commercials were in front of my face. And when I was younger, I did a bit of skateboarding and a bit of these things, and I suddenly was urinating at a state college in front of a screen that was mocking youth culture to me, and at the
Or
same time
appropriating it.
appropriating and mocking. Well, probably not mocking, maybe celebrating too much.
Yeah.
And I was urinating in front of it, and then I went around and collected syllabuses. Actually, one thing I did do that was very rewarding at that time in my life, and I don't want to be too personal, but I went around and just collected syllabuses, because I realized that's all if I really wanted to learn a lot, all I had to
Oh,
do was
smart.
go to the first day, grab the syllabus, leave.
That's a really brilliant idea.
And you also don't have to listen to people just constantly name drop authors that you're not going to remember, or movies
Yeah.
you're supposed to see.
Yeah.
Just take the syllabus.
That's a really great idea,
It
because
worked.
I need to know. One of my problems is that I tend to get into my own. I get in when I'm on the internet, and this is something I've always wanted to ask people: what they do on the internet. Where do they go?
Sure.
Besides for porn, obviously.
Where do you go? Right, that's the given. Yeah.
Where do you go on the internet? What do you do? That's that I wouldn't know, or that I'm just curious about people's
Yeah.
sort of wandering patterns, where they wander to.
Because
in the
what are
internet.
they following in their trail of what their interests are, and then one interest, next thing you
Yeah.
know, you're on a tangent.
And that's where Facebook is kind of good, but I don't take advantage of it enough. Is I recently thought, instead of just going on the internet, because sometimes being on the internet to me is like starting a painting or starting a
Sure.
drawing, and you just have this blank sheet of paper in front of
Wow.
you, and you can draw anything you want,
I never
but you
thought of it
don't
that
know
way.
what to draw. And then I'm just sort of
Wow.
like, and then I just end up defaulting to the dumb doodles I always do.
Sure.
And so that I start drawing an eye or
Right.
something stupid
Right,
like
right,
that,
right.
which I've done 100 zillion
Yeah.
times. And so I thought, well, maybe when I run into that problem, I should just go to Facebook
Mhm.
and then check what my friends are posting.
Yeah.
Check the links, and then that will get the juices flowing.
Flowing again.
But then I go, and then I'm kind of like, I don't like this person's posts.
Sure. Sure.
But I don't know. Yeah.
But it's interesting that you follow. I mean, I never think of actually considering my interweb history as or other people's interweb histories, because often people will spout facts or something interesting or some amusing comment, and you'll be like, I know you got that from somebody's blog, and how did you get to that place, and
Right.
how did that digression happen? you know?
Yeah.
And I'm interested in that. But it's interesting that you take note of that and try to remember it, because it probably makes you feel a bit more like there's a purpose. Because I think to some people they're not even conscious that they're using it.
Right.
And that's a whole other can of worms. No thanks, Elmo. Elmo just offered some dry Jello out of the packet, I believe.
Yep.
It's a favorite.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm curious about what people do on the internet. Maybe you could tell me, like, okay, let's say
Sure.
you're home now. It's nighttime,
Right.
and what's the first thing you would?
Do on the internet?
Yeah, what's the first thing?
Well,
you
I
do?
think a lot of people, and I wouldn't be any different, see the Gmail or the email or the Facebook as sort of anchors.
Right.
That's that's the pier you're going to walk off before you jump in,
Right.
and you're going to return to it. Other than that, there's news sites, New York Times, Guardian site.
Okay, so you
those
go to
sorts of
those.
things.
You go to the New York Times.
I'm going to hit those first. Sometimes I'll get sidetracked by some stupid celebrity
Hello,
thing
hello,
lately,
hello,
which is
hello,
really
hello, hello,
weird.
Oh, not weird though. I mean, you're trying to understand the
Hello,
culture.
hello.
I guess so. And I'll get
hello,
sidetracked.
hello.
And then what'll happen is that I'll go from there
Hello,
probably
hello, hello.
to any number of directions. I might be like, I don't know who this movie star is.
No, don't do that. Don't
Their
do that.
name keeps
I'm in
coming
bed.
up over and over and over again. I was
Oh,
like, geez,
and so you
I
want to
better-
find out what the deal
Yeah.
is with that person.
Yeah, I've never liked Wikipedia very much, and I don't know why. I never had a tendency, but lately I've been hitting it a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And oddly, for pop culture, like the other day, I remember I thought to myself, everyone was talking about this woman, Kardashian.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought that was a Star Wars character, but it's actually a successful actress.
Right, and she got the dust or the flour thrown at her.
Thrown at her, right? And I
Yeah.
didn't
Which
know
is
that.
amazing, because it really does go to show that, like, no news is bad news for a celebrity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is absolutely
Because it just
true.
it put her on the map for you. Now you
Right.
know,
Now I know who she is.
reified who she was for you.
Yes, and I realize also. See, this starts to trouble me too, because I imagine that I am in a frame outside of the culture and that I'm examining it, but in reality, I'm doing exactly what they hope I would do. I'm actually completely participating in it, even by
Right.
looking up who she is
Yep.
or caring.
Oh yeah, the minute
At
I do
all.
something like that, I'm often aware that that's
You're
what's
just
happening.
you're just jumping in. You can't.
Yep, I'm getting pulled into the whole cultural. And then at the same time, it's like, well, okay, yes and no, because all of this is unconscious. We're just really an
is
organism,
unconscious,
and we're all doing
right.
things that we're not conscious of, including the people who are manipulating us through the media. I mean, there may
Right.
be a certain amount of it where they
Links.
actually, there's a science, and they're probably very savvy, and they do realize, like, okay, we not only are we getting the the mainstream, but we're even getting the fringe people, the people on the in the margins,
Right.
are being pulled into
Pulled
our
into
thing
it.
through some dramatic
Right.
event, which causes them to look at that, and then maybe they will see an advertisement, which will not only reify our celebrity, which is this person who we can, like, sell product through,
Right.
but it also reifies any ancillary advertising that we want to do. You know, it might bring you to a website that you didn't know existed. It
Right.
might, and that website might advertise a product that you
Right.
didn't think about, or you thought about. You know,
Right.
and then that might. In fact, this show has a stupid ad at the beginning. If
Does
you
it?
go, yeah. If you go to, in fact, it has banner ads all the time.
That's fantastic. I didn't
yeah.
know that.
No, it's yeah.
Very
uh,
officious.
Fantastic isn't the word.
Well, it's sort of very official. Wow.
It's because we're using a free streaming service.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sure.
And so when you click on it, the first thing that happens is you get this 15-second ad, and the 15-second ad was kind of the same thing over and over again. And one day I actually caught myself thinking, "Oh yeah, I should buy that thing to clean the bathroom with."
That's really good. That's
And then I was almost like, yeah, like I know that they. No, Elmo, come on. Oh,
Elmo is wreaking havoc.
he's
I
wreaking
know,
He's
I
stressing me out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
hello.
I'm aware, like I was aware, like I know that they think that they're manipulating me and that like
Right.
I'm gonna buy this product because
Right.
I saw the ad. But in a weird. Please don't
Do what?
make super loud noises.
We're gonna call in the security.
Yeah, we're gonna. If you're quiet, it's okay. But then I was kind of like, oh well, I'm aware of it, and I'm above it.
Yeah.
But actually, I didn't buy the product, so that's good.
Yeah. I wonder if you could consider being a consumer simply time, not just investing in the Marxist sense of an actual physical material thing. I mean, isn't any time at all, even if money isn't exchanged, even if are you still consuming something? I mean,
You mean just by simply?
by simply spending
Well,
a block of time.
Yeah, I mean, in some sense, you're using the internet, which is right there. You're supporting a company.
Sure.
This just in.
This just in. Worldwide Dirt Radio Party, a Heavy Hands fundraiser. A show by Sean Williamson. Oh, I know Sean real well. Parker, dear Lord, Parker Winship, and Leanna Eden, Lee Ojan, Travis Thorpe, and friends. Join us
Whoa.
April 5th, 9 p.m. River West Film and Video,
Wow.
or listen to us live. Elmo will be there,
Yeah.
and he will be shaking hands, taking pictures, and signing books.
Right.
There will be stories, stories. There will be stories, ladies and gentlemen, much like what we've shared today.
Yeah.
Music, drinks, food. Very famous Frankie Latina will be
Penny,
there.
right now.
Don't let this flyer. Okay, thanks so much. That's great.
Thank you.
And,
And what's the weather like right now? What's
yeah,
the
can we
weather?
get a weather?
Yeah, can we get a
update?
weather report, Frankie?
Oh, she's a smoker.
Well, as Frankie gets the weather report ready,
We're having some technical.
we Wait, who's a smoker?
it to me.
That girl.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, Elmo, can you take pictures for us? Can you be our
I take
photographer?
Today in Milwaukee, it's 39 degrees. Thursday will be
Frankie!
46. Friday will be 45. Saturday will be partly cloudy, 57 degrees. Sunday, sunny, 66.
Frankie,
Monday, sunny, 75 degrees. Tuesday, 52
He
degrees.
got a red shoe.
In Santa Marta, Colombia, it's 90 degrees.
Feel like
Thursday
you're
will be
lucky
88
Shane.
degrees. Friday will be 90 degrees. Saturday will be 90 degrees. Sunday will be 88 degrees. Monday will be 88 degrees. And Tuesday will be 88 degrees.
And what's it like outside right now, Frankie?
It's a bit chilly. I would suggest wearing a sweatshirt and a hat and a scarf.
Oh, okay, thank you. And yeah, it's 5:16. It's 5:17 in River West, and
Really nice.
the
sun's
phone
going
number
out.
here is 414-704-5956.
People are walking by. They're
We got people
smiling.
walking by, smiling,
That's really
waving.
nice.
He's a nerd walking down the street with his gun on load.
Was that a
What
nerd
else
with
do
a
you-
gun?
What else do you see?
Hello. They got that girl named Smokey.
So, did you have any dreams last night, Elmo?
Let's see. I had one good dream. It called. I don't.
It had a title? Did you say it was called?
I didn't. Actually, I didn't. Even, I woke up halfway.
Sounds like you woke up pretty early.
Yes.
And what'd you do after that?
I went back and got the bike and left.
Okay.
Do you remember dreaming last night?
Let's see. I remember one thing. I heard my song on the computer.
Hey, do you know any? Have you
Nick.
got any scary ghost stories, or have you ever seen a ghost?
Oh, once.
Really?
Yeah.
His name was Tom.
And what was Tom like?
And he was saying all the time.
Oh wow. You said that this morning when you woke up you were scared.
I was scared.
Why? What did it feel like to be? What made you scared?
I was black.
Oh.
So did you dream that you were not black and then you were black, or you were how
Yeah.
did or really?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Cool.
Which one? Being black or not being black?
I don't know.
What were you if you weren't black? Were you white, or were you Chinese or Asian or?
Asian.
Oh, I
So
feel
that's
like
a whole nother.
yeah, but I
another
feel like I
can of
led
worms.
that answer out of him.
Yeah, you kind of maybe did. But you don't remember any details of the dream at all, Elmo?
No.
There wasn't any other figures. It was just you experiencing something in isolation.
No.
Well,
Elma made a cool video just now. One day when we really have our act together, we can actually put up the videos that we make.
oh, that'll be fantastic.
That would be nice.
We do want to remind everyone that you can call in. The number again is
414-704-5956. Leave,
Ah.
Phone number.
It's
leave the
kind of
quarter
pretty
alone.
natural this early in the season not having any calls, but give us a call. Let us know how your day's been going. Let us know any concerns you might have.
Yep.
Let it go.
Yeah. No. Now I noticed you have some other newspapers with you. Was there something else in
Oh,
among
no, not terribly. I mean,
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye,
y'all.
Elmo. Thank you.
thank
Come
you.
back
That was
soon.
Elmo.
Come back to hello. You're on the air. What is it called again?
Hello, caller.
Hello, caller.
Yeah. I just read chunks of the newspaper, but we were talking before Elmo's dream interpretation. That's actually not a bad idea for a segment. Just like have Elmo give us the dream, we could interpret it and
Yeah.
get him out.
Well, yeah. No.
I mean,
he-
get him out and definitely get him out.
when
of here.
he likes to talk,
Yeah.
he's an amazing talker.
Sure,
He can tell the most amazing stories.
it sounds like it.
I mean, if you ask Elmo what happened today, it'll just be an amazing story.
It'd
You
be
could
great if he had a
write
dream that he
novels.
was like Mark Twain or
He'd
something.
make a good writer.
I could see that.
He's a good storyteller.
I can definitely see that. But we were talking about what it would mean to actually consume something. Being a consumer, we think of ourselves as being consumers, and unfortunately, whether we want to be or not.
Right.
But is a large chunk of time, does that, I mean, obviously it's a consumption of some kind, but I don't know if people actually consider that consuming something. Like, for example, like we were talking about digressions on the interweb.
Yeah.
And I was saying lately I've been kind of sliding off trying to learn who celebrities are that I've not known who they are. And I
Yeah.
wonder, am I being a consumer by doing that? I mean, not to say that it's naughty to be a consumer. I mean, I'm not saying there's any no there, although there could be. But am I consuming some? I mean, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I guess I'm asking, what am I doing?
I think that if you're aware and a critic of the culture, that's a very important characteristic of
Sure.
of the consumption, and also you, in some ways what you're doing is just being aware of what your social situation is. I know, but I need to listen. In other words, how is it really different from, say, for example, listening to Beethoven or listening to, or reading The Great Gatsby or something?
Sure,
I mean, you're
sure,
a
and
consumer when you
they're
do
all
that as well.
products in the end when you
and in their
zoom
day,
out.
they were the celebrities.
That's
of their
very
time.
true. Very true.
Obviously, Kim Kardashian might go the way of, she probably isn't even on the level of a Mary Pickford.
Well,
you know.
yeah. No, I mean, I do agree with you is that it's pretty silly to make too many distinctions between high culture and low culture at this point.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
right.
But on the other hand, there are things that are calculated to gobble up time, and the only way, and the only way that they seem to have any value or relevance is if you decide they do.
Right.
So, but you were saying that you follow your history on the internet. And where would you typically go? Like, where would you start? And
Oh, well, one of the see, this is me. My thing is that I'm very, very stuck in a rut with the internet.
Sure. That could be a real problem. It'd be great to hire someone to help you get out of that rut, like as a service.
Well, that's why I'd like to know what other people do. But then, of course,
Sure.
it's like, well, isn't that what the internet is all day long about?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it seems like you're constantly getting
Right.
references of where to go. But I don't, the problem, okay, here's the thing. The internet is a mainstream, you know, when you just enter into, like, say, a major website, a web page, like,
Sure.
like Google, or, well, Google doesn't do it, but I have Yahoo Mail, so then, like, Yahoo has all this stuff, like,
Right. Absolutely.
they
Everywhere.
have, like, little breaking stories, and
Yeah.
then they have, does Gmail do that?
No. Actually, it doesn't. I
It
mean,
doesn't, right? Or
it's
you go
pretty
to,
streamlined.
yeah.
You know.
So that will usually be kind of a beginning for me. Like, I'll look at that before I go to my mail. So then, like, I'll see, okay, here are some of the breaking stories
Mhm.
that are happening. Here are some of the, actually, they have 2 sets of them. So I kind of look at those. And then, and sometimes that'll lead me to something interesting. But
Yeah.
usually it's a little bit of a dead end. And the reason why is because they're catering to, you know, the lowest common denominator
Oh, yeah.
of society.
Oh yeah.
So, and not to say that that's always bad.
No.
You know, the lowest common
They've got
denominator
it right.
could be actually something that's high-minded, you know?
Sure,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's not like everyone is constantly thinking about the crappiest things. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
sometimes things are interesting science facts or,
Right.
you know, stuff like that. But, or some philosophical thing or even stuff that, I don't know, things that I'm curious about, you know? Or
Right.
sometimes it'll be like, I don't know, some girl punched another girl on a soccer field
Right.
and it's on video and now she's
You're
getting
drawn-
sued.
Right.
So it's like, oh, that's a big news item, but it's nothing. But it's interesting
means
because,
nothing,
like,
right.
in the 1930s, if a kid punched another kid on the soccer field in a totally different state,
Right.
that just would not be news.
No, it wouldn't
for
be.
me. I would
Right.
not know that.
Right.
The only way I would ever find out about it is through a novel or
Right.
through, like, a you know, I mean, like that.
Sure.
You would just never find that out. You know?
Yeah.
Or
No,
if
it's
that-
true. I mean, the idea of the news used to be part more of so-called proper art.
Right.
You know, the news was part of it, and that's definitely true. I wonder
Yeah.
but it was also more interpreted to whatever the local cultural norms were or what have you.
Right.
And so in a weird way, news was always distilled to its moral or something like that. But I still think that that's pretty prevalent in a lot of ways. Like, for example, there's got to be a word for this, like in journalism, wherever you make an incrimination and just put a question mark after it. You
Uh-huh.
know, like, that's still, you know, a form. It follows the form of news, the form of reporting. But it's obviously an incrimination with a question. You know, like,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
Obama a socialist?
Yeah.
You know, is, you know, Mao Zedong the Satan more
Right.
at 12 or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is Zach Pieper racist?
Is Zach Pieper oh
Zach
no.
Pieper racist?
Let's not go there.
Question mark.
I don't want to have to hire one of these crisis control people.
Zach Pieper
That's-
sexist?
That's the last thing I want to do.
Uh,
But the rut in the internet being
okay,
in a
so
rut.
then, okay, that's a little. So here's okay. That's the thing is that I don't have a platform that I can go to that satisfies my interests.
Sure.
You know, where it would be, I'm interested in interesting lectures.
Right.
I just listened to Jared Diamond and what's his name, Fukuyama.
Oh yeah, the postmodern guy.
Yeah, and and you know it was mildly interesting.
Sure.
It was also kind of like I could have spent a lot more time figuring out what, you know, just trying to get my head around the whole what they were discussing and what I didn't like about what they were saying and what I did like about what they were saying. Francis Fukuyama. To me, that is like one example. Like if someone had that there, then I could have clicked on it. But then if I had a bunch of other things, and of course I go to that, then that leads to some other ones where there was, I didn't watch it, but there was like Salman Rushdie talking about his bookshelf.
Right.
And like probably, I didn't click on it, but it would have been like all of Salman Rushdie's favorite books or something.
Right.
You know,
Which would have been a lot of other successful writers' favorite books.
right, which would be, and then it could have led to me being like, oh well, I want to check out
Everybody's
that.
read this.
But-
I might as well.
And so I don't really need something to I just need to. I don't need something to get me out of my rut. I just need to get myself out of a rut when I'm
Sure.
in the rut. Because usually what I default to these days, but it wasn't this way before, is Max Kaiser, the Kaiser Report. I listen
Oh
to,
yeah, I've dabbled.
yeah,
with Kaiser.
for some bizarre reason, I
Sure.
listen to it whenever it comes out, and it's just I'm in that mode. I don't know. It's just what I do.
Right.
Then I go to the Post Carbon Institute and I listen to their media links, and they don't have much to offer. It's like once a month there'll be a new thing, and it's
Yeah.
usually kind of repeating the same
Mhm.
crap that they always say.
Right.
And that one's kind of about like peak oil and stuff, and that's just an obsession of mine. And then I used to listen to Democracy Now! Every day when I got up while I'm like making breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting tired of them. I'm getting tired of their format and
Yeah.
and they, in a lot of ways,
You don't
even though
enjoy
it's
the monotone,
Voice?
slow, deliberate,
Eh,
repetitive driving of points. For
Wait, are you sure
30
that-
minutes?
we're not. You're not the pot calling the kettle.
Actually, I
black?
was just trying to be nasty about it.
Oh, okay.
I don't really
Oh,
listen to
oh,
it.
okay, 'cause
I
I was
just
gonna
wanted to complain about
No, I was
it.
gonna say this must be like this is a kind of radio show that people just like cringe. when
No,
they
you're
listen
right.
to
No,
it.
but I don't know why. I think it's because most of my beliefs are what one would call liberal. I always look for the chance to jump down a liberal's throat about
yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah,
I never
yeah.
really find that chance,
Yeah.
but
No, I like
oh,
doing
they're
that
so
too.
boring.
I like doing that too. I
Yeah.
like critiquing my own brethren.
yeah,
my
or your
people.
own, or your own. Well, what would be perhaps parts of your thought system or whatever.
Yeah, I
Um,
love doing that. I love critiquing the left.
Yeah.
There's so much to critique.
There's a lot
about it.
there.
And I like to take the position of the right wing.
Yeah. You know who
Uh,
needs to get more crap? The middle.
The middle. Oh, I hate the middle.
They
I
need
call
to
them,
get a
I call
lot
them
more
NPR
crap.
listeners.
Oh well, you could say that, but on the same token, like it's also people that like seriously enjoy Bill O'Reilly's program, but at the same
Oh.
time, will be like, "Yeah, I'll vote for him. Everyone else is." And there was a banana peel that was just procured on
Yeah.
the table here.
Yep.
Chili
And-
Chill is.
Yeah, I hope to get in
Oh yeah,
So
are you doing a
sorry.
show? Are you doing a show today?
right now.
You are doing a show.
This is Andy.
Is this on?
Yes. Yes.
Hello, I'm Chili Rapper Chill, and this is my show. You're in the
Oh.
middle of it.
Whoa!
Welcome, friends.
Thank you for listening to Hello Caller. We remind you
Uh,
we'll be open every day at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
You're still here. You don't have to leave.
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably going to do something that
Oh, I shouldn't
do, which is smoking.
Oh yeah, you need a
Smoking
cigarette.
is
Okay. Yeah. No, you should have a
interesting
cigarette.
thing.
You know what? We should switch spot. You know what I'm gonna do, Chili? I'm
What
gonna
is
stop.
going?
I'm gonna stop this recording so then
Okay.